Hey guys, how you doing this evening? Hey Belinda, how you doing? Gonna work on something a little different this evening. I haven't worked on this in a while. I'm doing good. Doing good. Thank you for asking. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this quiver. I've been working on this thing for probably, man, I couldn't even tell you, several years on and off. Just one of those projects that I'll work on for a while and set it aside, and then it just seems like it's harder to pick it up, and because it is very time consuming. I don't know how many hours I have in this thing, but it's pretty ridiculous, to tell you the truth. But once it's finished, this thing will be just almost indestructible. That's where I've tied another one in there. Had like a little bit of a tag in. Let me get to a stopping spot and I'll kind of show you what it looks like. Here, I'll get this out of this and I'll show you. This is what it looks like so far. It's about as big around as a softball or so. And I've got the woven design through there, and then the rest of it is just going to be this natural fiber, this jute cord. But thank you, Belinda. I appreciate it. I had another one that I made years ago. Wasn't as big around as this one. It was a little bit smaller, but it was a really nice one, and was on a hunting trip, and a buddy of mine moving some of my stuff around for the campfire, and had a couple of sparks blew over on it and burnt the bottom end of my quiver. It's now a small bag. I've got it somewhere, but I had to try to repurpose it, because this is one of those crafts that I'm not doing this to sell one of these. There's so if anybody watching is asking if I'm making these for sale or if I ever sell them, the answer is no, because this is I don't think that I could I could even come close to asking for the amount of money for the time that I've put into it. And even if I did, I think somebody would probably have a fit, if I told them what I would have to have for something like this, because it's just insane. But I figured, I got a couple hours on the lives in the evening, and I would work on it and answer a few questions, and maybe we could talk about just whatever. This would be real similar to like the California style basket weaving kind of stuff. It's really easy the way this thing starts off, though. You just determine how big around you want to make the piece, and then you start off with a strand of string that diameter, and then you start making all these little drops. The downward pieces here that I'm weaving around, and just put them all the way around that diameter of that string, and then you just start doing this twining weaving like this, and work around in a spiral fashion. And this thing is completely held together with just a twine or a twist in between I guess they're wafts. Is that what they're called? The downward ones? But anyway, you just work your way around it. My fingers aren't quite as nimble as they used to be. This is one of those that if the arthritis is acting up, I can't do a lot of, but get back over here. We're kind of in the, not that it's, exciting viewing, but at least you can see what I'm doing. Now I'm getting ready to have to tie in another piece here in just a little while. And it's a different, I've run out of this material here that I had, so I've got another kind, and it's a little bit lighter color. It's actually smaller. Oh, you guess so. I may have missed something there, Belinda, sorry. Mike, how you doing? I'm so sorry to hear that you got all that stuff going on with your rig. Just working on this old quiver. I figure a couple hours of doing this once a week, I might actually finish it in a year or two. Yeah, I bet you are tired, Mike. And stuck out there with the spotty internet, that's always fun. I am, Nappy Pappy. I've been working on this thing for several years, and that's what I was saying. It seems like I put it down and then pick it up and work on it for, a few days, and it's so tedious. You could see every one of these is a twist. And it's just insane the amount of time that's put into one of these, or, the basketry that's made like this is just. But now I've seen, some of those people that are, really adept at it. And they're, flying through it. And once I get in a rhythm, I can go pretty quick, but it's just a matter of making yourself sit and do this for, hours at a time. It's like I said, I couldn't even begin to tell you, if I had to make a guess, I've probably got, 30 hours in this thing, maybe, altogether over a few years. But it's also, like I said, it's something I can do. I've sat in front of the TV and done it, and watching TV in the wintertime, or sometimes in the summer when it gets real hot or something and I'm in the house having a bad day where I can't move around a lot. This is one of those things where I can still, do some crafts. So, well, thank you, Belinda. I appreciate it. I'm excited about. I kind of got a new thing going on. I don't know if I shared with you guys. I kind of was asking about it in my live the other day, but I'm going to start doing some. I've got a bow that I'm just about finished with. Now I've got a recurve and 3 long bows, but I want to shoot with one of my bows that I've made. So I've got one that's just about done. I'm going to finish it up here coming up, and with the weather getting nicer, I'm going to make up some arrows, and I think I'll do an arrow making live, like on Wednesday night. We'll make up a couple of arrows, or we'll start working on a few. But I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. His name's Josh, but he goes by Arrow Sniper, and he does a lot of those trick shots. Well, I got an idea that I used to be really good with my bow. Now, I don't know that I was, as good as that guy as far as the trick shots, but as far as just, accuracy, I was really good with my bow. I just haven't shot it in a while. But it wouldn't take me that long, I don't think, to get back into it. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use primitive weapons. I've got a sling also, like a shepherd's sling or a David's sling, they call them, that I'm once I practice up with it, I can do some pretty cool stuff with that. And then an atlatl also, and I'm going to try to recreate a few trick shots, but do it with primitive weapons. So I thought that might be that, maybe some bolos, some different stuff like that. So if you guys think that would be interesting content, then that's something that I've kind of been thinking on. I think it'd be kind of fun. Because people, when they think about primitive weapons, they think just that. They think primitive, less than, and that there could be nothing farther from the truth. Those weapons are just as effective now as they were when they were invented thousands and thousands of years ago. And they will put meat on the table just as in the hands of somebody that knows how to use them. They're every bit as effective as anything modern. So I think it would be kind of cool to showcase, how effective those weapons could still be. So it's and plus it gives me something to be a little bit more, to keep me excited about it. That's one of the things that, I going live every day and napping, I like it, and I love to nap. You guys know that watch me. But, it's, I don't want to say it's boring, but I don't want to do the same thing all the time. At least for me, to keep me, my passion going for it, my, excitement, I guess. Because, if I'm not having any fun, then why the hell would somebody want to watch somebody sitting there not having any fun? I mean, that would be an awfully sad evening to watch somebody who's not enjoying what they're doing. So, to try to keep it a little bit more fun. I'd love to do like not a drawing, but take suggestions on and do some really cool, different stuff like that. Something that I could plan for and set up a live for. Jenny and I are going to have bunch of stuff going on here in the next several months this year. We're in the process of talking to builders and all that stuff. We're going to be building a house here on our property sometime this year. They want to see me miserable doing something. Well, just stick me in a room with my ex-wife, Pappy. That'd be freaking TikTok gold. Then you want to see a miserable man. But then again, I don't know that I want any video footage of that because that stuff is usable in court. So don't need any evidence. But no, like I said, I'd like to stay excited about, because it's not just flint knapping that I like to do. I mean, I enjoy just so many aspects of that kind of, I've been wanting to do some pottery. I've got some clay set up to do some, that's hurting it, arthritis in that thumb tonight. I've got some clay that's prepared, and I'd love to make to do some pottery. But like I said, I just don't, I want to do stuff that, like I said, you guys would like to watch or at least be interested in knowing about. But a lot of these crafts, the thing that's hard about them is that, it's not like somebody with a grinder or a saw or some kind of modern, Dremel or cutting stuff, or, somebody throwing pottery on a wheel. It's a completely different process. It's so slow, and there's no other way around it. It is gonna go slow. You can get faster with practice at this stuff, but for the most part, any of these crafts that you try to do, especially if you're using ancient tools and techniques, you're looking at, Pappy, that is actually where, hey, Zach, what's going on? I'm working on a quiver this evening. But Pappy, that's exactly what I was, some of the pottery ideas that I have for, some potable type stuff. This, I've got a really cool idea for some, if I can just set aside the time to start working with the clay, because I've got, hey, Paul, how you doing? Mad Dog. Zach, thank you. I appreciate it. Here, I can give you a better view of it. This is the way it looks, and you'll see the size. It's about the size of a softball around, and it's just on an old, like, heavy-duty cardboard tube right now, just to kind of help hold its shape. I was telling these guys, I've been working on this thing for, I couldn't tell you how many years, on and off, because it's just one of those things that's so tedious that but anyway, I thought it would be a nice addition when I start doing the trick shots like I was talking about, to have a nice blingy handcrafted quiver to go with them. So we'll see how it goes. I've got, I don't know, couldn't tell you how many more hours in this. Going to be a few, because I've got another, I shoot, my arrows are about 32 inches, and I'd like to have it to where just the nocks stick out of the top of this. So, I'm looking at 31 inches, and I probably got, 9 there. So, oh yeah, Zach, here, let me show you. I can slide it off the form that I got it on, maybe. So it is. There it goes. At this point, I could probably weave without it being on the form, but this just helps me get a really tight pull on it. Hold on a second, I'm almost. Hey Don, how you doing? See, here's how it. And you can see, I mean, that's how big. So it'll easily hold my hunting arrows or whatever else. And it'll be just like a big canister. And then I'm going to put a leather bottom in it. So, but that's kind of how it's set up there. Thank you, I appreciate it. Like I say, I've been, get it slid back on here. I've been working on it for several years. And it's just one of those projects that it just takes a lot of time, you know. But I think that the end result is going to be well worth it. Let me get these a little bit. The only thing about this technique and doing this is you got to really be careful with your string. You get knots or tangles in this, and it's kind of a pain. Well, it's more than kind of a pain. It is a pain. So, and I try to keep these pulled tight. But yeah, I've got a really nice hickory bow that I'm just about to finish up, and when I get it done, I'm going to start shooting it in and getting back into form. And I'll probably start off with a few bow shots, and then we'll work on some atlatl stuff, maybe a sling or two, and just try some different stuff. I think that would be a really cool way to showcase the accuracy that those weapons that you can achieve with them. So, all right, we're getting close to a point here where we're going to tie in another string, and I'll show you how that works. I'd like to get it just a little bit shorter. Usually I want about probably a 4-inch tag or so, and what that does is the way that I'm going to weave it back in there, the friction of subsequent weaves and going around this, it will lock it in with friction, and this thing is just, it won't ever come apart. I mean, this thing, the strength of these type of woven items is just, it's insane. At first, when I started learning how to do this technique, I had toyed around with the idea of making the cordage from natural stuff from my area, and then I realized the colossal amount that it was going to take of making cordage just to make something like this. And I decided that my time would be better served just using natural fibers, but stuff that I'd purchased, instead of trying to process that much of it, because I just don't have that much time. I don't think any of us do, really. But it's like I've told you guys, I do learn how to do all of these crafts, from scratch, with natural materials, but I don't necessarily do all of it with all that kind of stuff, because yeah, Zach, well, that's the way that this is going around. It's actually a spiral. It goes around this thing. So you can see actually where I start on some of these. Let me find a spot where it starts. Like right here, you can see where I started that pattern right there in that. And each one of these, like here's where this one stopped. and started the new one. So it's just a never-ending loop of string that's going around this thing hundreds of times before it gets to the end of it. Terry, what's going on? Hey, you weren't in here earlier, were you, Terry? I know you saw the post that I did, but that's that Dalton that came out of that. That thing is a screamer, man. That's that piece that we were working yesterday. Was it yesterday? But that's what we ended up with. But I mean, the flaking, it's almost, sorry about that. I didn't mean to sit there and, yeah, it's one of, I love the pattern on it. I love the color. I mean, that's just, yes, sir. That was when I was working on it. Yeah, that's the point I ended up with. I worked on it off camera and finished it up, but it's really pleased with how it turned out. I think once I get down close to the end of this, I might put in one more orange band. I don't know if I still got any of that material, but if I do, I may put in one more orange band at the base. And then I've actually played around with the idea, as crazy as it sounds, of making a bow case that matches. And that will be a pretty big undertaking, but it'll go quicker because it's smaller in diameter, but it's going to be insanely longer. But I think it would be a really nice, complement to this to have a matching bow case for my self bow. Yeah, I've got an old Osage bow, and I've got I'm getting ready. Thank you, Terry. I appreciate it. Well, like I said, man, I work on a lot of this different stuff. You guys, you see me flint napping. Now, since this is the evening show, guys, we don't, this is a little item that I made a few years ago. Let's see if I can show it better here without this in the way. This is soapstone, and that right there is drilled with a river cane drill. There's no stone on the drill on that. That was done with, thank you, Belinda. Yeah, that thing is that's all primitive tools, and I've got about 45 hours, something like that, in that piece. If you ever want to, I've got pictures of it posted on my profile. I think it's towards the top, but it shows several of the pictures throughout the manufacturing process of that. It started off as just a block of it was like a green soapstone, but it's patinaed a little bit because of usage and carrying around for the last few years, and so, but it's still like I said, it's one of my prized heirloom pieces, I guess I should put it that way, because those are it's just stuff that you can't buy anything made like that anymore. And well, first of all, because like I said, if I told somebody, like, I got 45 hours in that thing, if I made $10 an hour as a craftsman making that, that's $450 for that, and you ask that to somebody and they're just going to look at you like you're nuts. So it's definitely not you don't do it for monetary stuff. It's definitely a labor of love. I like that it's, the old ways and the way, it's harder to do, but I think that I end up leaving a little bit more of myself in the piece, as an artist. It's I like to think that every piece that I make, I try to put some of myself into, and that's why with my flint knapping, I push myself to do as good as I can, and it's my art forms, So, and I love doing that with just about anything that I, primitive wise. That's just the stuff that I love to do. I don't know if you guys were in here. I know Terry said, well, Terry wasn't, but if you guys saw these, check this little guy out here. Let me see if I can get it in the. There we go. It's like a caveman wristwatch. Here, let me move this out of the way. There we go. I didn't attach it, but just little doodles, playing around with stuff, and a couple of pretty pieces of material that I made those out of. So, thank you, Belinda. I appreciate it. I'm all the time doing crap like that. I don't, it's like the ADHD part of me. I like making stuff like that, but I'm not a production guy. I can't sit, like you guys that watch Ed Mosher nap. Man, he does it for a living, and it almost makes me hurt watching him nap because he's doing it to orders and production, and I'm telling you, I've made a few knives for Christmas gifts, Terry. I have done, and it's like I said, it's one of those things that you there's no way that you can do it and not leave part of yourself in it, So it is truly a gift that you're given of yourself, and especially if it's something somebody's going to cherish. So, yeah, I absolutely love those kinds of things, because there's no way that you're going to put a monetary value on something like that. Yep, me too, Terry. Had to get a drink of water there, but yeah, Pappy, if you're still in here, I was thinking about some little clay. I've got some white clay. All right, we're going to tie in that new deal. Now this cord is a little bit lighter color and it's smaller, so I doubled this over. Now it's going to change the look of that, or the texture, because it is a little bit different. Let's see here. Get those even. And then we're going to make a loop and grab those two strings that we've been twining with, and the one that they're getting ready to go around, and go behind that with a loop and snug that up real tight, and then start right back in with doing the same thing that we were doing. Awesome, Zach. Yeah, that's real cool, man. I've done a little wood turning myself. I enjoy that kind of stuff. I've gotten don't do that, Aaron. Pulled that off center, but to me, like I said, I keep gravitating towards the ancient stuff. Terry, I don't know how many hours, probably close to 30 overall, but I've been messing with this thing for several years, because it's one of those projects that that's why I kind of chose it for one of these lives, because it's kind of a way of it's forcing me to work on it for a couple hours, because it's set in the corner of my craft room for, I don't know, a couple of years that I just really hardly touched it. And I do that with a lot of my my projects, because I get it's the ADHD, man. I get excited about working on them, and then I get to working on it and I get excited about something else, and then I want to move on to that, So it's about getting myself wound up to work on it. Because like I said, if I were to try to make one of these for somebody, I'd say by the time I'm done with this, I'll have 100 hours in it. Well, crap, man. Minimum wage now is what? If I charged minimum wage and told somebody that, that's over $1,000. They'd look at you like you'd lost your mind. And so what ends up happening is I either end up gifting this stuff or I keep it for myself, because I know what I put into it. I know its worth. And that's the people that would almost laugh at it. It's almost like, somebody, their artwork, I mean, there's just no way to be reimbursed for the time. So it has to go to somebody that really knows what it is and appreciates it. But I figure I'll work on this one evening, and then we're gonna make some arrows and some stuff. I'm just about done. I've got a bow that's real close to being finished. I've got another one that I need to do a sinew backing, and we might do a live on that. It's kind of a hectic deal, but we can try that one. But if I can get the sinew on that one, that's going to be a thumper. Now, I didn't make the bow. I'm just rehabbing one that I got from a friend of mine that he received years ago. It was a movie prop made by Bowyer. It's made out of Bodark, Osage. And it looks like it'd be a heck of a shooter, but it just, somebody did some scraping and damage on one of the limbs, and I'm going to lose some poundage trying to retiller it. So to combat that, I'm going to back it with sinew. That'll help it keep from breaking. Plus, it'll give it a little bit more thump. So that's a project that I've got in mind here in the not so distant future. Like I said, the wife and I, we got to get through this summer with getting the house built and a lot of that stuff too, though. So. And she's staying busy most of the time. I mean, she works full time, and then she's going to college, from home, like remote stuff at our local community college. So she's busy and constantly going, and I'm really proud of her. And then she ends up, putting up with my old butt, all my crazy obsessions. I'll have to show you guys some of these times. Any of the ladies that are still in here with longer hair, I make like a beaded hairpins. They're made out of antler with peyote stitch beadwork. And Jenny's got long hair, and she puts them up in her hair. And I've never sold any of them, but I'm sure that they would, be something that you guys would like. But they're really neat. I do a lot of that type of stuff too, beadwork. But again, that's so time consuming that it's not something you do. If you're trying to sell stuff, because it's just you're not going to ever get paid for it. Just about grab the short. See, there's where I've tied another one off. You can see where the end of it is right here. So I need to grab that whole bundle. And that's part of what holds that that friction and the weaving will actually hold all that together as I work down that piece. Just hundreds of twists over it. Yeah, well, that's the thing, Paul, is people don't want to anymore. It's, you got Timu and to get started yet. I don't understand, Zach, what you're saying there. But yeah, Paul, I mean, people, everything, Amazon, Timu, all this, crap that people can order, and they order it cheap, and nobody wants to pay for a quality thing anymore. This is like this quiver right here. The likely, you could just about never wear this thing out. I mean, this is something that, once it's done, you pass this down to kids and grandkids. If it's taken care of, this thing will last multiple lifetimes. And I'm as guilty as anybody else. So you buy stuff and, with the intent that it's just temporary. You're going to use it for a little while, it's going to break, and you're going to throw it away. And that's just kind of the way the world's come to anymore, it seems like. But yeah, the first time I was working on this, wore blisters on my hands because of all the tightening and the pulling and this old jute cord is real similar to almost like baling twine. And I realize this is not, super exciting content. It's just figured something that I could do and chit chat. You guys had any questions or stuff that you want to see on the daily lives, on the Coffee with a Caveman? We could talk about that here, and plus gives an opportunity for some of you guys that are unable to be in here during the day because of work or other responsibilities, and come in and hang out. Should be getting close to where we started tying this in a while ago. And that's the main thing on this, is you want to make sure. Yeah, that's the way it is. Had it not been for my injury, Belinda, I'd be hoofing it every day too. That's what I did. From the time I was old enough to had my first job. I mean, that's all I've done, and that's been a heck of a change for me over these last several years. Is just kind of retraining yourself after an injury like that you just, it's a new stage or a new part of your life that you just kind of have to figure out how to deal with. That's one of the reasons I think why I've started so many, the projects and stuff to keep my brain busy, because, I worked in a management job for a number of years, and then the manufacturing plant that I worked at started demoting and laying off and getting rid of all their high-priced salary people because the company was getting ready to go under. And then, hey, Aero Sniper, I was just talking about you. Your ears must have been burning. I was just telling everybody that I'm working towards. I'm gonna try to do some primitive versions of some of your. Obviously not. Like I said, I'm not near the shooter that you are, but I'm going to get back into doing some working with some of my primitive weapons and try to do a few primitive versions of some trick shots. Show the effectiveness of these old weapons. So I've got a hickory bow that's really close to being finished, and I get that one done and get it shot in, and I'll get a set of arrows made for it, and I'll get back into it. I haven't shot in a while, but I used to shoot a bunch. I mean, that's another one of the, like you said the other day, Josh, it's therapeutic. It's like napping or anything else. You kind of get out there on the range and you can almost lose yourself in it for a while. And there is nothing like watching an arrow fly, or an atlatl dart for that matter. I love to see that. Just watching them fly towards a target is a really cool deal. So hoping to be able to have something like that going this spring. We're going to do some foraging videos. Now, I don't know how much I can. Whoop, did I miss one? Yep. See, that's where you got to be careful. I missed a strand right there. And if you miss one, you have to go back. There it is. All right. But yeah, we're going to do some foraging videos. We've got here on our place lots of morel. Well, not lots of morels, some morels, but in this area out here, mushrooms. We got about, it's April. It's when they usually start coming up. So about a month, I'll start looking middle of last week of March and into the 1st of April is usually when I start finding them here. And every once in a while we'll find them a little early, mid-March if we get a lot of rain and it's nice and warm. But a lot of the other greenery starts coming up. We'll start getting poke and the nettles will start coming up. So there'll be some what my granny used to call tonic greens. Oh, with red in this, is that what you're saying, Zach? I think what I'm probably going to do mainly the natural color like this down to almost to the base, and at the base I'm going to do one more solid orange like this. But then I'm still toying around with the idea of a bow case that'd be about that big around, just big enough to the bow to slide down in, and just do it in like an alternating, like natural orange, this cream color natural orange, and do that all the way down the bow case. I think that would be a pretty cool. Okay, here's where we tied that in. That to give you an idea, guys, each one of these rows is one revolution around this. Right here is where we tied in. This is that bundle we tied in a while ago to start with the piece that I'm working on. So we have, with that wrap right there, that's one complete revolution going around that quiver. And there'll be There's about 10 per inch. Yeah, about 10 wraps an inch, and I've got about another 20 inches to go. So 10 wraps an inch was at 2,000 more? No, 200 more wraps around there. So the end is in sight. Yeah, I think it would be really cool too, Zach. I like like the bolder colors like that on the bow. I think would look really cool with the accent colors on the quiver. So I don't know how much of this is like a dyed raffia leaf stuff, or I mean it's a natural deal. It looks a lot like quill plating. It's one of the reasons I like it. Is it looks similar to porcupine quill plating. I toyed around with some of that a lot of years ago, and really like the look of it, but it is tedious. Quill plating is, I mean, that's the thing about it, to get the examples that we see in museums of this stuff, you're dealing with specialized artisans that made these things. That's what they did. It wasn't, every single person may have had a grasp of how to do a lot of this stuff, but you'd never had, I would say almost never would you have somebody who was like, a master potter, a master weaver, a master seamstress, a master weapons maker. I mean, it just, the amount of time that it takes to learn to that skill level is more than what a person has in a lifetime. So that's why I say sometimes I get to a point where, because I've had a few people that are, kind of butt heads about, well, did you buy that from blah? Yeah, I did, because, I'd like to be able to make this in something shorter than the rest of my lifetime, But rest assured, I have learned how to do all this stuff from primitive. I just don't want to waste the amount of time that it takes to do that all the time on stuff. I think I've got a video in my profile somewhere of me making a bunch of cordage with some weeds that were growing next to the road here at the house. So, cordage making or rope making is another skill into itself that, it takes some time to learn. Tighten that up just a little bit. See, and I'm just constantly pulling that to this side, to over here, to this way. And then as it rotates, picking those up. That way I can kind of keep them out of my way as I'm working, and then I'll work 3 or 4 of them like this, pull them to this side, pick up that last one that I did, pull everything tight, and wrap 3 or 4 more. But you can see how something like this would take just, it's a massive undertaking of time. Every time I sit down and work on this thing, I remember why I set it back, because it's pretty rough on my hands. I got arthritis in both hands. My right hand is worse, and that's the one that really has the main duty in this thing of pulling tight and all the twisting and stuff. But I mean, I could do it the other way. I just not as nimble the other direction, even though I'm left-handed. Oh, it's weird. All right, this is where I've tied another one off at some point. Get a little bit of blood flow back in my hands here. Well, we got a couple of folks still hanging out here. Who all still in the room? Shout out where you're at and what you're up to this evening. I'm just working on this quiver I've had in my project stack for several years, and I just thought it would be a kind of an interesting break from my normal stuff. Like I said, one of these lives, or maybe in the morning one, I don't know, we might do it. If you guys would like to see, like on the Coffee with a Caveman in the mornings through the week, I could do an arrow making tutorial in there, and we could just spend a whole week making arrows if you guys wanted to do something like that. But it would take close to that, because that's... Oh, awesome, Paul. Yeah, now you got one flipped up on top of the other one? Is that what you mean by the double? Yeah, I've seen some guys doing that and getting some good temperatures out of that. What do you got, some Buffalo River in there? Oh, awesome. Now, are you turning that, Zach? You said you do some wood turning. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, L1 Truckee. My buddy put on in. Oh, right on. Put the liner on. Oh, that's a good idea, Paul. Heck yeah. And you can load some of those old roasters, man. Now, are you pouring sand around them, or are you doing some kind of an insulative? I tried it a couple of times years ago, and I was using vermiculite as the insulator in there with, instead of sand. vermiculite. Well, L1, Lebanon, Missouri. I am, well, let's see, how far is that, say, from Springfield, Missouri? Oh, I got you, Paul. Because L1 Truckee, I'm in Northwest Arkansas. I'm about I'm a kind of hour south and east of yeah, right on, guys. Yeah, I'm in between Garfield and Pea Ridge, Arkansas is where I'm at. Yeah, I think it will, Paul. I've seen a lot of guys have some really good success with that. And 550 for that Buffalo River, that ought to be really, really good for it. Now, is it some of the glacier stuff? Because now that's the only thing about Buffalo River that I've had, my experience with it, is that if you get that drier stuff, man, heating it just makes it worse. It gets some of it gets chalky. Oh, right on. L1. I'm about 10 minutes. I could be in downtown, the big town of Pea Ridge, in about 10 minutes. And the smaller. Oh, right on, Paul. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I know some of that stuff gets a really nice color change to it. Yeah, I can be in Garfield or Pea Ridge both in about 10 minutes either way. I'm about halfway in between. If any of you guys are familiar with the Pea Ridge Military Park, I'm not too far from that. And we are covered up with deer. We have deer in our yard nightly. The last couple of years, they've wreaked havoc on our garden. I've threatened the last, I don't hunt much anymore because it's hard for me to process and wool them around because of my back, but I'm going to have to, out of necessity, I think, thin the herd a little bit. But I thought that would be kind of cool too if I did something similar. I don't know if you guys, who Ryan Gill is. He does like primitive hunts, with atlatl and bow and all that. And I thought about doing something like that here on our place also. Because last year, well, no, year before, or was it last year? No, it was last year. Yeah, I guess they've been in the ground for, I'll tell you what, L1, I actually am talking about expanding that part of what I do and start trying to do some more demonstrations and stuff. I used to do some different stuff on, like I said, arrow making. I've taught a couple of arrow making classes. I'm a Oh, absolutely, Paul. Well, and that's, to me, I like doing all of it, but it's one of those things that it's hard to keep up and be good. Well, awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Now, I'm not even. What, as far as tinsmithing, what would that entail? L1. Like what kind of crafts and stuff? I'm unfamiliar with it. Adjust my feet here. My hips is kind of hurting. Sitting in this old chair. this morning and this evening's got my sciatic nerve barking at me a little bit. Try to bump this up here. It's trying to slide off my lap. Trying to set this right up against my chair so it's not sliding around. Let's see here. I thought I had some more incense set around here somewhere. Oh, awesome. Awesome, L1. That's cool, man. Well, that's probably... that's what I don't know if Terry's still in here, but I've got a guy that I've met through TikTok that he's a metal detector, and he vacations with his family in this area every year. Let's see if I can get this to, there we go, that'll work good. I'm trying to keep it from sliding on me. He's going to come and detect our place this year when they come in to vacation. They actually vacation over in the Bella Vista area, and I told him, I said, I'm a mile or less, and depending on where the directions from the National Military Park, but I know that there was fighting going on here, and then within, like I said, where the main battlefields were within a mile. Years ago, part of this place was metal detected, and they found some bullets and a couple of cannonballs were found. Right on, Zach. Yeah, that's mainly my area that I like to concentrate on too, and specifically I like the hunter-gatherer, paleo and transitional paleo is my favorite period of time. So yeah, I do concentrate more on that. That's my favorite point styles. I like Clovis. I like the Folsoms, the Daltons. Soon I'm going to start trying to learn to make Cumberlands. So, but yeah, I like all that. Oh, no worries, L1. But yeah, that's cool, man. That's the tinsmithing. I didn't even know exactly what that, all that was, but that's cool. Look at there, we made another round. There's that little curly Q from where we started this double strand a while ago. So in the amount of time that I've been on this live, we've gone around this thing with the other one, probably 3 times. So I've gone a third of an inch, and I've got, like I said, I had about 20 more to go. So it's just twist by twist. Yeah, I've done a little bit of, Zach, I've done some wood turning. This is well, you can't see it because I stitched some leather up around it, but this is a piece of walnut that I turned and made that's an early flaking tool that I was working off of, and that's just a piece of, I think that's moose antler in there, and then I just stitched a leather handle around it for a little bit of padding. But that was before I covered that up. That's a really pretty piece of walnut. that used to be, when I turned that, I actually used copper tools, and that was a bopper handle that I used to have like a copper top on with some lead in it. And when I stopped using the copper tools, I liked that handle and thought, man, that'd make a great pressure flaker. So I just modified it but then I don't even use it anymore because I've gotten to where I actually prefer just the natural antlers, the pieces. This is the stuff that I nap with now is mainly just these, like the natural antlers. So, I've got that pressure flaker sitting there and don't use it. Probably haven't used it in a year or more. Right on, L1. Well, it's definitely something that it takes some time and some practice, but anybody can learn to flint nap. It's definitely, people think it's not a talent, it's a skill. It's something that you can teach yourself. With help with, there's this at the time of when I first started flint napping, there were no resources. I mean, none. It was just, hit or miss. I actually got lucky and met a guy who was a flint napper and recognized what I was doing. I didn't even know that other people did it when I started, and now there's so many books and videos and lives and just all kinds of stuff, events, that are going on. When I first started, none of that was happening in this area. Now, in my area, there's two really big primitive skills gatherings, and both of them started about 25 years ago. I think 26 coming up this year on Water Creek, but I started almost 30 years ago, and that was before the big resurgence of all this stuff happened. There was just no resource for it. You couldn't find any information. So now is the time to learn. If you want to learn how to flint nap, there's more information and stuff out there than you got the bug after finding some points. Well, I appreciate it, L1. And I don't know if have you been able to make it to any of my morning lives that I do, the Coffee with a Caveman, because usually that's all I do in there is flint nap. And I did flint nap on a Wednesday night live. I just kind of give myself a break from. I've got some after my injury. I've got some issues with my back and my hips and my shoulders and my hands. So okay, I wasn't sure if you had been in to see it too many times in there, but yeah, I can do some flint napping on this Wednesday night one too, if that's what you guys would like to see. It's just, I just have to. Don, you are coming a long ways, man. That's what I was saying the other day on that one post that you put on there, man. It's coming right along, or that message you sent me. Seriously, it is. You're getting the hang of it. Yeah, well, now how far are you from Zach in Louisiana, from Poverty Point down there? Because that is now you talk about some really cool history. That area down there puzzled archaeologists for a long time because they knew that the length of time that it was occupied was, just this tremendous amount of time, but it was a continual occupation, and it predated agriculture in the North America. And they found out that because of just the vast number of resources that were in that area, that it was a hunter-gatherer culture that lived there, but that there were so many resources and that the environment was such that they didn't ever have to go anywhere. That's exactly it. I tell you what, though. Now L1, 35 minutes ish, or 35-ish minutes. I'm not sure what that one. If I missed another comment, I'm sorry, Zach. But yeah, L1. Do you have what's your name or your first name? If you don't mind, or otherwise, I can call you L1. That's fine too. But I just always feel funny talking to people at their moniker. Levi, right on. That's during COVID, there was such a resurgence. Flint napping, and you can see how red my fingers are from twisting and pulling on that. And I work stone every day. That'll give you an idea how hard this is on your hands. Oh yeah, right on, Zach. That's cool. Because that area down there is just incredible. Like I said, it stumped archaeologists for a long time because they just knew that with people having lived there as long as they did, that it just had to be an agrarian type society. But it was not, and it was a hunter-gatherer people that lived there for thousands of years because everything worked. They had everything they needed: the fish and the game and the resources. So that's a really cool historic area down there. But unfortunately, being at the with everything Louisiana being at the end of the Mississippi River and all the sediment and stuff, that the rock resources down there, lithic resources, are just it's a horrendous place to try to find rock. Because of that, it's terrible. A lot of the rock is the gravels, if you get lucky to find that. All right, let me use that little blade I made on the live the other day. And again, since this is a smaller string diameter, this is the single diameter. You can see it's about half the size of the stuff that I was using. So I'm doubling it. Lived in Nashville and had. Yeah, that's I know that entire area because of the time that that there was occupation there. It's kind of like, the oldest cemetery in North America, and I say cemetery, I don't mean a burial, where you've got, but I'm talking about a cemetery where numerous people were interred over in eastern Arkansas. Well, the Sloan Dalton site, and that's why they refer to them as a transitional paleo people. They were still hunter-gatherers, but they were turning into an agrarian society and starting to grow food. So they were living in an area long enough that they had to start thinking about what they were going to do with their loved ones when they passed away, and they found the cemetery in that area where they were interring their people, that to be at a time when it was before what they had suspected prior to that, as far as before people were in a sedentary type of culture where they weren't nomadic and hunter-gatherer, traveling to get their food, I guess what I should say. and they were starting to grow food and living in an area for an extended period of time. And that's kind of what when we were talking about the poverty point. That's why it confused a lot of archaeologists, because they just knew that, with that many people living there for that long, they just had to be growing some of their food. But they found out that was a true hunter-gatherer society or culture that lived there. They just had so many resources that they didn't need to grow any other food. Get this thing going again here. We got that other piece woven in. You can see kind of the short tag ends of that there, and we'll get a little blood flow in the hands again. Yeah, we've gone, you can see that this material is just a little lighter. We've gone almost a half an inch. Now I'll tighten that up some too, but just a long process. Oh yeah, well, Zach, that's my wife and I were talking about that. I was watching some. Oh, I know what it was. I like golf. I don't play anymore. I used to play before my injury, and we were watching this last tournament that was on, was the WM Open, the Waste Management Open, and they had all these commercials and stuff about the landfills. So I was curious and started looking, because you see these mountains of garbage that we're producing, and that's just in our country. And I would like to think that we have, some standards, because I've seen some of these third world countries where there's no regulations of any kind, and I mean, it's just insane. But in the amount of time that I've been alive, and this was a scary number. I was born in 1970. And the approximate population of the world at that time was 3.6 billion people. So I'll be 55 this year. In 55 years, we are now at 8.2 billion people on this planet. And so in 54 years, to more than have doubled the population, I don't see how how we're going to continue to do what we're doing, for many more centuries before it's just going to be. I mean, if that holds true, and in another 50 years that it more than doubles again, the amount of or lack of space on this planet is going to be insane, and the amount of waste that we're dealing with is going to be even worse. I was talking to somebody the other day about, when you're digging, like I've got. Oh, well, Zach, what I think is going to happen is there's going to be a crash. It'll probably not happen. Now, I don't know how old you are, but it won't happen in my lifetime. Probably not in my children's or maybe my grandchildren's lifetime. But at some point down the road, it's just not sustainable, and something will have to give. Yeah, 25. So you're a little bit younger than my son. My son turns 30 this year, and my daughter will be 21. So the likelihood of this being able to, for us to keep doing what we're doing for another 100 or 200 years, it just doesn't look good. I mean, especially considering that, you think about all this plastic and stuff that's in the oceans and all this stuff. We've only been making plastic for 100 years, less than that truly. But I mean, they were making Bakelite and stuff like that in the early 1900s. So, I mean, they've been making plastic for 100 years and it's already destroying the planet. What's going to happen in another 200, Yeah, that's Levi, I think that they're, well, yeah, Paul, when we run out of oil, but when we run out of oil, that's one of the major components to a lot of the plastic industry, but the thing about it is all of that stuff that's been made that's going to be in the landfills, at some point, people are going to be remelting, the plastic. They're going to be digging plastic like we dig rocks so that they can melt it down to make something. I mean, it's going to be a completely different resource. You're going to see human artifacts from the next few centuries. At some point, they're going to be recycling. You've got glass, that can be used, remelted. I mean, there's just, because the thing is where the world lives like everything is never ending, but there is a finite amount of all of these resources. There's only so much steel in the world. There's only, or iron, to make steel from. There's only so much aluminum, so much gold, so much whatever. And once that's gone, it is truly gone. There's no more. And at that point, you're going to see, civilizations crash. We are poisoning everything, Paul. They talk about the mercury levels in fish in the ocean and all this different stuff, and we were talking about, there's rock, we've been using the rock for a few thousand years and it's still there, but eventually that would go away, or at least the majority of it that we can get to, Levi. But, for the most part, if you're digging for artifacts, you're digging somebody's landfill. You're digging a midden. You get out there past the drip line. You guys know what I'm talking about if you've ever dug overhangs. That's the trash pile, man. That's where all the trash gets thrown to. And the only thing that we find in evidence of those people is stone and bone tools or artifacts, remnants of their lives. Everything else was biodegradable. And even the bones, those eventually would turn back to mineral and be gone. So the impact that the people in that time, the way that, I don't want to say living in harmony with, but because, even the native cultures would especially the nomadic ones, that's the reason they were nomadic. They would live in an area until they kind of exhausted the resources there, and then they would move on. That's why they had to keep moving, is because to sustain their life, they had to either follow the game that they were after or find a new area that had enough resources for them to live off of. So I'm actually pretty happy with how much I got done on this tonight while we were all just sitting here BSing. Kendra, I'm making a quiver, a woven, here, I'll go from the side here so you can see. It's about the size of about a softball size around, and it's just woven. You can see all this is towards the length. It'll be about, Oh, I think I left probably 6 inches extra off the end, so that's how much more I have to weave. A little bit more to go. But yeah, Zach, I'd like to see that. That's awesome. And I was going to tell you, I know sending pictures through stuff like that on here doesn't work, but feel free to look me up. Oh, awesome, Zach. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Kendra. Yeah, I've been working on this on and off for a long time. It's pretty tedious stuff. As like I said, it's something that it's hard to stay with it. This kind of helps, just being able to talk and BS while I'm doing it. But I work with stone every day, and you can see how red that finger right there is from pulling and twining on that. So I say the first time when I first started working on this, I rubbed blisters on my hands that were horrible. It's not blistering me tonight, but it is making them a little red. But yeah, there is hope for me now. There's ouch. We've got. It's kind of giving me a little bit of inspiration here, guys, because like I said, you watch this thing take shape, and it takes a while, but we started there's the first place right there of the lighter material. Kind of angle it up so you can see it better. You can see how this is just a little bit lighter right here, this lighter material. That's where we started putting in the new material, and I think I did 1 or 2 laps around it with the what I had attached to it. So we've made about 5/8 of an inch of length of this thing tonight, off what'll eventually be about a 30-inch or thereabout. So look at us go. I'll try to work on this some more off camera and stuff, and hopefully get to a point where we can finish it out and I can show you guys what it looks like. Oh, I'm definitely feeling the live from earlier today. That and the temperatures bottomed out here. I think it was 23 when I came out here tonight. We're getting ready to have a couple of really cold nights. It's supposed to drop down into the teens, low teens tonight. So this old house that we live in, the heater is huffing and puffing, man. It's doing all it can do. So like I said, we're building a new house this year, so just trying to make it through the winter. What was it Merle Haggard said? Oh, no way, Kendra. -40? Are you serious? I'm going to just shut up then. I'm not going to complain one more bit this evening about the temperature. My goodness. Where is it that you're at? Saskatoon. Oh my goodness. That makes my body hurt just thinking about 40 below. Here about, I guess it's been 3 years ago, we set all-time low temperatures. I'm in, yeah, if we make it through December. Yep, Merle Haggard. Everything's gonna be all right, I know. But yeah, we set a record here, low temperature for -28 degrees, and that was a record low for us. That's what I need to do. I need to put you guys through. I'll bring my guitar out here one of these Wednesday nights and we'll play some music. Yeah, I thought about that too, Paul. I'm really bad about if I don't have it scheduled. Yeah, Saskatoon just you'll sing too, Paul. Right on. I do a little singing. I'm a little stuffy this evening, but I used to play a lot. Awesome. Very cool, Zach. I'd like to see some of your work. I have to. Oh, you're not good. You're joking, Paul. You're not a singer. Wow. Yeah, that's just too cold for me, Kendra. I can't. 40 below. It just makes my whole body just wants to be mad at me just for thinking that number. We had at 28 below here, and of course, heat pumps and that kind of stuff. They're not designed for that. And that was the year I thought we were going to lose our heater for sure. It was just bad. But I've got a wood stove for backup, and we've got a couple of electric heaters and stuff too. So we'd be all right. But man. But yeah, Paul, I used to play. I used to be in a band. Well, I've been in several, but used to do a lot of playing and singing. Hell, I may do that some night. But yeah, if I don't schedule something, Paul, I'm really bad about, like, I don't know, just if I'm trying to be spontaneous and just do that, then I'll come up with a friggin' excuse to not do it. You know what I mean? Whereas if I've scheduled it and said, this is the time I go live, then I'm more likely to. It's like a work schedule. That was the hardest thing for me, Paul. After my injury, I've worked in factories my whole life, and then worked in. I had, my schedule is always that early morning. Get up and go, and then after my injury, and no more working. It's hard to give yourself to get motivated, and it's difficult to not fall into that, I don't have a schedule, so I'm not going to do anything. And it's really frustrating, especially if, somebody that, like I said, I've worked my whole life, and then to get to a point in my life where I'm not able to do the things. Yeah. Now, Moose Jaw, that sounds cold to me. You live in a place called Moose Jaw, Canada. That sounds like a cold place. Maybe not as cold as Saskatoon, but down here in Arkansas, we got places like Swamp Poodle and Toadsuck, Arkansas. I'll give you guys an interesting little tidbit. From back in the '60s, the TV show, The Beverly Hillbillies. Anybody? I'm sure some of you youngsters have seen it on a rerun or two. But there you go. I know Paul's pretty close to my age, so, but their hometown, or the big town near where they lived, was called Bug Tussle. And there's a place just down south of here where they actually, the name of that came from, and it's actually Bug Scuffle. Bug Scuffle, Arkansas, is a little community down south of, well, if Justin was in here, he'd know, but it's just down south of Fayetteville. Bug Scuffle. But yeah, we got Swamp Poodle and Toadsuck, and there's just some, Yeah, Paul, you're a little older than I am. Then I was born in '70, so I'll be 55 this year. All right, now you can see this is another one where this is that short end where we've made our way around again. Pull everything tight. And right back into it. Now, guys, how's the volume and because I've kind of got the phone sitting right in front of me, and I didn't want to blast it out, or if it's too loud, or am I talking too loud, or I want you listening to me heavy breathe all night either. So, does the audio sound good? Well, I was concerned about that because, like I said, you get to talking and getting wound up, and I didn't want to be heavy breathing in everybody, and then or get excited about something and say something too loud. Johnny boy, I am working on a quiver. I'll show you. I'm getting ready to shut this down for the evening. My hands have about had it. Here's the end of it. It's about, I don't know, it's about the size of a softball, the opening will be. And I've been weaving it. Been working on this project for quite a while, actually. Set that aside. But no, if there's other stuff that you'd like to see, I do any number of primitive skills. I mean, we're going to do some arrow making. I do flint knapping in the mornings. So if that's something you guys like to see, for those of you that, now I can do some hardstone work, some grinding. This is the piece this was done with all Stone Age tools. It was drilled with river cane. I've got I was just actually talking about that a while ago, Johnny boy. I told somebody I had toyed around with the idea of making natural cordage and then weaving one of those out of the stuff that I did, and the undertaking to come up with that much cordage, I said nope, I'm going to buy it, because that's, it would probably take me a year or 2 years of just constant making string just to make enough string to start the thing that I've been working on for years. So yeah, I'll let somebody else make the string, but I know how to make it, but I'm not going to make that much by hand. Not for that. I mean, I've thought about that. They talk about those the rabbit nets that the natives would make in areas where they would run rabbits into those nets, and some of those nets were 1/4 of a mile long, 1/4 of a mile just in length, and then about 2 to 2.5 foot tall of netted webbing. Do you know how many miles of string are in that thing? Oh my gosh, that makes my hands hurt just thinking about it. But this is I made this. I was working on this yesterday. This was we worked on live. It's a Dalton made out of some Horse Creek chert. See if I can get it to where you can see the flaking in it. Beautiful, beautiful stone. That's was gifted to me by Terry Roseberry. He was in here earlier. I don't know if he's in here now, but I think we're going to do a giveaway coming up. We'll talk about this for a second. A couple of weeks ago, we were doing what I call trash napping. This is a Dalton that I made out of the bottom of a 40-ounce beer bottle that I picked up out of a creek. We call this Ozark Creek obsidian. This is a piece of TV glass we made a Clovis out of live. It's fluted on both sides. Got a really nice flute on this side for that one. Thank you. I appreciate it, Imogene. Well, yeah, but that's the thing, Zach, is that all they had to do. Yeah, that's exactly, Johnny. That's what I'm saying. If I had nothing else to do but sit and make, had 3 or 4 people and all they did was make string, and yeah, it's a completely different deal. But for one person to do it, the undertaking is just insane. And that's, Johnny, that's what I was saying about that quiver that I'm working on. That thing would be an heirloom. It's going to be passed down. When I'm no longer, somebody in my family will have that quiver, and it'll last their lifetime too. And then this one it's a little dirty now. It's got some of my incense ash on it, but this is a toilet tank Dalton drill that I made. This is out of a piece of toilet porcelain. Got just a little bit of the glaze left where it flaked across it, but it was just a little thicker glaze right in there. So that was some of our trash napping we did a couple of weeks ago. But I think I'm going to do a giveaway on those. And yeah, Willard, I like to call it Thunder Chert. Yeah, me too, Johnny boy. That's what I'm saying. I think there are enough others like me that when the what is it the SHF, then they're the guys that I know are good folks to have around you. This is one, boy. I made a bunch of people. I freaked out a bunch of. Facebook blew up at me. I had people screaming at me that it's fake. And I said, it's not fake. It's modern made, but it's real. I made this here not too long ago out of a piece of Buffalo River. I think I'm going to put this one up on my Etsy shop here pretty soon. So got a few projects in the works trying to get some stuff made, and then we're getting ready to give this away as soon as we get to 5,000 followers on the page or the site or whatever it's called. We're going to give this away. I'm going to mail that off to somebody at 5,000. Now this one's getting ready to go out this week. This is going to Bubba. This was my subscriber point for last month or this month giveaway. That's a piece of hornstone, Dalton. So, well, guys, I think I'm going to call it an evening and see if the wife has left me any space in the bed. So, I appreciate you coming in and hanging out with me. We'll come up with something else to do. I'll be live again tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. If you guys want to. Absolutely, Levi. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll be back on at 8 o'clock in the morning. Brizzo, you too, man. Take care. And we'll do a little flint napping in the morning. Here's that. This is that piece of, let's see if I can get it, Rainy Buttes that I was working on. I'm going to try to make a Folsom out of it. So I've been adjusting the profiles for it. Imogene, thank you. Good night to you too. All right, guys, have a good evening. Take care of yourselves and those around you, and keep chipping. Appreciate it. Good night.